Hi, my name is Vedant and today I'm going to show you one of my versions of making spaghetti al pomodoro. So here for the ingredients we have tomatoes, some basil leaves, parmigiano reggiano, and some garlic. That's the basic stuff that you need for making this recipe. First things first, I'm not here to show you how to cook a spaghetti al pomodoro. I'm here to show you one of the cooking methods that are used in making it. And what you can do with this method is that if you learn it, you can change it, you can make your own recipes, and you can make your own fantabulous dishes. The second thing, before we start cooking, we need to wash our hands. So make sure you have washed your hands, everything is clean, your kitchen, your tools, your ingredients, your hands. And now let's start cooking. So here we start with turning on the heat. I'm keeping it to a high flame and let the pan get a bit warmer. We can just, since I have a practiced hand, I just check it by simply putting my hand and checking whether it's warm or not. But if you want to check it, you can just see by putting some oil if it spreads or not on the pan, and that's how you know that it's warm enough to start cooking. So here I am checking it again. Okay, it's pretty warm. So now I'll start with some extra virgin olive oil. You see how the oil spreads to the sides of the pan? If that happens, that means the pan is warm enough to put something in it. So we start with the garlic here. So in goes the garlic. So we want the garlic to be golden brown. Now garlic is something which can be left out if you don't like it at all. But we add them for flavor in the oil, and garlic boosts the immunity. So we just love our garlic, and that's why we put them whole. You can even cut them if you like smaller pieces of garlic, or if you don't like the bite of garlic, what you can do is just use them in the oil, and as soon as they turn golden brown, you can take them out and throw them away. That way the oil just has the flavor of the garlic, but it does not have the garlic bite to it in the dish. So this is what you want. You want the garlic to be turned golden brown. So I'm just tilting the pan a bit so that it gets enough heat so that it cooks a bit quicker. You see how it's turning golden brown now? That is what you want, and you want it for each and every garlic. This method is known as the burnt garlic method, so that's what you want. You want them golden brown. As soon as they start turning golden brown, you just turn your heat to a bit lower flame, and we put in the tomatoes, and we close down the lid. We try to shake it all so that all the garlic and the oil gets mixed well with the tomatoes, and we just let the tomatoes reduce now, and we keep high flame for now, and we start adding a bit of olive oil in time so that the tomatoes cook well in time. It takes some time for the tomatoes to reduce, so we'll be using some oil in time and maybe even some vodka. Usually the Sicilians prefer using red wine for this dish, but since I'm out of it, my roommate drank all of it, we are just going to use vodka for now. So that's it. So let's wait for the tomatoes to reduce. Meanwhile, what we can do is we can start boiling water for cooking our spaghetti. So we can see the tomatoes reducing right now inside the pan. If you take it out, you can hear them sizzle, and they're just on their way of reducing. There's some garlic in there that you can see are perfectly golden brown. Burnt garlic and tomatoes. That's what you want to reduce. And shaking it if you want for some time so that the oil completely mixes with the tomatoes and it starts reducing it evenly from everywhere. But since we have the lid on, it's pretty much going to do the same job, and it's going to do it a bit quicker. So meanwhile, we have our water here ready for cooking the spaghetti. So here's our tomatoes, and here's the water that we are putting for boiling right now. So we start on a high flame. So yeah, so it's the high flame here, right here, and I'll add some salt to it. So what we do with spaghetti is that we don't put salt in the sauce at all. All the salt goes inside the spaghetti, and you want to make sure that the water has enough salt so that it sticks to the spaghetti after it's cooked. So all the salty flavor that you get in the dish comes out of the spaghetti, not out of the sauce. See, this is too much salt, and we want too much of it because when water boils your spaghetti, half of it gets discarded and half of it goes into the spaghetti. So you want a salty spaghetti here because all the salt is again in the spaghetti, not the sauce. So we let it boil for now. Maybe in order to make it quick, what we can do is just place the lid on the pan so that it boils quicker, and we let the tomatoes reduce on the side. So for now, I see my tomatoes have started getting glazed a bit. You can see the luster of the oil on all the tomatoes. What I'm going to do now is add some vodka. Now, as I told you, Sicilians love adding red wine to this, but since I'm out of it, I'm using the vodka. So I put some parts of it, that's good enough. So adding vodka, what it does, it just gives my dish a bit of aroma and some flavor. So acid, alcohol, salt enhances flavor, while pepper changes it. So that is what we are trying to do here with the tomatoes. We are trying to enhance the flavors of the tomatoes and the burnt garlic with the olive oil and the vodka. So that is how we are reducing it. We let it stay for some time. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes for this much quantity of tomatoes to reduce down. That is approximately the time what we would need for the water to boil and the spaghetti to cook as well. So let's wait on that. It's gonna be legend. Wait for it. Legendary. So now let's check on our tomatoes. As you can see, some of them have started getting very soft, and what we can do is just go ahead and crush all of them so that they just cook better and firmly and more quickly. And that is what we are trying to do here, just trying to crush all the tomatoes and trying to reduce them into a fine thick consistency of that of pasta sauce. We are just crushing the tomatoes here so that we get a nice thick consistent sauce. We don't want bigger pieces of tomatoes in the sauce, although this one is a rustic version, so I don't mind having bigger pieces of tomatoes in my sauce, but it's up to you how you like it. And so I'm trying to crush them as much as possible with my spoon here, but I'd recommend you manage your own consistency. You think what's better for you and you do that. And so we just need to add some oil so that it starts reducing better. So here I am adding some more olive oil to the sauce. There it goes. And again, I'm trying to mix the oil with the sauce and then crush the tomatoes again until they give me a very nice fine texture and consistency. So now we've crushed majority of our tomatoes, and I'm adding some more oil to this. And this is the step where you might like to add some pepperoncino or chili flakes to your sauce to make it more spicy. If you try adding too much spice to it, we come up with another whole sauce which is known as the arrabbiata sauce in Italian. Arrabbiata basically means angry in Italian, so it's the angry sauce, which is the spicier version of the pomodoro sauce. And here we are crushing the tomatoes, trying to reduce them into a sauce of thick and fine consistencies. Now you might be wondering how much salt did I put in the boiling water or something like that. So this method of cooking, it's known as quanto basta in Italian, which means a rough estimate. So all you need to do is just put it by your own estimate. Usually for each and every liter of water, it's 16 grams of salt that they use in restaurants, but that's not always the case, and since we are home cooks, we have the liberty to experiment with that. So you just have to practice and come up with your own estimations in time and with more practice. So now we start adding the basil to the sauce. So one of the things that one of my favorite cooks of all time from New York, Frank Crescenzano, says is how much basil is enough basil, and the answer to that is too much basil is enough basil. So always make sure that you have too much basil in your sauce so that it has all the nice aroma and consistency and the flavor to it. So that's what basil does. It takes one dish and makes it heavenly, that makes you go, Mamma mia. So I'm going to put some more basil in this one. So here we go, adding some more basil. And we just keep working the sauce. Now my sauce is on a lower flame. And you see how the color is coming really good and everything. See there's this one tomato that isn't crushed. Come on, the little buddy. We are almost done with our sauce. We'll let it cook on a lower flame. We will put on the lid so that it stays warm, and we'll cook it on low flame for now. You can see this is the water boiling, and now I'm going to add the spaghetti to it. So let's do that. So here we have the boiling water and we are adding the spaghetti to it. As soon as I add the spaghetti, I must make sure that it does not stick to the sides of the pot, because as soon as it starts sticking, it starts getting overheated over there, and sometimes it just burns from there. So you need to make sure that you are dipping it all in the boiling water so that it's cooked evenly from all these sides. And see how I'm gently trying to get it inside the water. Just make sure you don't break any of those spaghetti or spaghettos. And now I think we're just fine. It takes about 7 minutes for spaghetti to be cooked al dente. So what al dente is it's a bit undercooked so that it has a bite to it. So it's not raw and it's not perfectly or overly cooked so that it just gulps down your throat. You want to have a bite in the spaghetti. If you don't make it al dente, you're making it wrong. So as we see here, it's cooked al dente right now. The test for it is just try to break it with your nail. And if it takes some effort to break with just one hand, like this, then it's perfectly cooked. But if it's effortless to break it with two, it's perfect. So that's al dente for you. That's when I kill off the heat. Now it's time to drain the pasta, so that is what I'm going to do. So here we take the pot and you drain all the water out of the spaghetti. Make sure all the water is out, since we don't want any water. If any water gets in the sauce, the consistency of the sauce that we took so much time to reduce to will be gone. So we just wanted to have the perfect waterless spaghetti, and now I think think it's ready. So let's put it here. And yeah, I think we have drained all the water here. So now, wow, look at that sauce, how good it's looking right here. You can see. And although the video has its own disadvantages, but the aroma is mamma mia right now. And now I'm adding the spaghetti to it. And now it's time for me to work out the mixing of the spaghetti and the sauce. So here I have my prawns, and I'm just going to mix the spaghetti with the sauce. And you can see how nicely it's taking all the sauce inside of it. I'm just putting the flame on a bit high right now, and look at that. See how the spaghetti is taking in all the sauce, how the sauce is sticking to each and every strand of the spaghetti, and that is what we want. And look at this, wow, delicioso. Wow, I cannot wait to eat it. So this is, so with the sauce and the spaghetti, you never want the spaghetti to be more in proportion than with the sauce. You always want the sauce to be more so that it tastes better. If we have the pasta in lesser amount in the sauce, it's just not going to work. That's not a perfect pasta dish. It's always better to have a bit more sauce in proportion as compared to the quantity of the pasta that you're making. So here we have our spaghetti pomodoro, which is pretty much ready to serve. So now let me show you how we serve it to our friends and family, and maybe even in restaurants how they serve it. Let's try giving it the art of presentazione, which is presentation. So here we are, ready to serve our spaghetti. And here goes spaghetti. Ooh, that looks good, doesn't it? Some more. Some more of the sauce. Maybe some garlic in the sauce. Yep, that looks about great. Now let me just go and give it some finishing touches. So first of all, I'll take these drops of sauce off the plate. So it's always better to have a good presentation, because that is what makes the food look really good. And now what we are going to do is add some Parmigiano Reggiano to this. Ooh, you can add as much cheese as you want to this pasta. It never fails you. Parmigiano Reggiano is one of the best cheeses that comes from Italy. And here's a basil leaf on the top, which makes it look cooler. So we have the Italian flag here, green, white, and red. And to finish it off, we just put a drizzle of olive oil that makes it even better. So it has the aroma, the bite to it, the sauce to it, and here's your spaghetti al pomodoro. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, compliments, whatever it is, reach out to me on my Instagram or my Facebook. My handles would be visible in this video at the bottom, and I hope you have fun cooking during this time of quarantine. I call my kitchen the quarantine kitchen these days, and I am loving cooking all the time. So I hope you use this technique and let me know how it turns out for you. So buon appetito, no regretti, have spaghetti.